what is the process when you get a storyline that you don't fuck with at all?
Well, it's like I refer to them as little battles. Again, it's not our sandbox. So who's ever promoting, booking, whoever it may be, like right now, Triple H is in charge of the creative. I love that because most of the things that Triple H says, yes, great, I will run that play. All you can do in that position is say, hey, I don't love this. What about this? You always should have an alternative too. That's something that when you're younger, you don't realize. You can't just say no. Can't just say this sucks. Hey, I don't love this, but what about this?
Yeah, how do you manage up? How do you influence your own storylines?
And what I tell people about the little battles every day is you can only, most of them you won't win, but you'll feel much better going home if you at least fought the little battle. If you said, hey, I don't want to say this, and then it becomes hey, we really need you to say this. All right, well, at least said it. Versus letting it all bottle up. Oh, I hate everybody. And just all that angst and all that. Because that happened to me during Stardust, during the younger run. I wasn't speaking up.
So they change your character to Stardust so you and your brother can kind of be this unit. And
it's awful, man.
Yeah.
Awful. And it actually was okay. Like, crowds were kind of fun with it. We won the tag titles. There's some significant moments, but it wasn't.
For you, it just wasn't satisfying.
Man, it was just so... But here,
it's like if the Williams sisters only got to play doubles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
I think at the time, I learned this from when I went away, is absolutely some of the behind the scenes aspects out of my control weren't my fault. And this was something I had been tasked to do. And I did give it my 110%. However, I found that a lot of it was on me. A lot of it. So wrestling is the suspension of disbelief in it. It's entertainment. There's, we have writers, we have our show, whatever it may be. However, it's a lot more fair than people think. If you put yourself in the best of shape, if you invest in your gimmick or your character, if you work on your promos, if you are the go-getter who goes and, especially in this era of social media, if you go out and you create a little empire or you work with the digital teams, again, small bones. Yeah. If you just take advantage of all that, somebody sees it eventually. And that's where things can pick up for you. And I wasn't doing all that. There's certainly parts of it I can say this was just a bad idea, guys. Because the original Stardust also had a hat. I only say hat. It's supposed to be a mask, but it looked like a hat. And it's like the original Electro from your 90s Spider-Man run. Okay. It's like, but it also had basically, I don't know what you call it. It had the look of a condom that had just been yanked on your head. Okay. And I went and I showed it to creative at the time. And I remember as showing, I was like, I can't wear this. That's okay. No. And this was the part where my heart broke. Is I had long hair at the time, or longer. I didn't have a shaved head, and I never wanted to have a shaved head. And they were like, well, no mask, but cut your hair like your brother. And at that point, that heart broke. I remember sitting there in that chair and just like cutting my hair and no idea what I was getting into. It was Cleveland, which used to be the Quicken Loans Arena. But that arena, poor thing, I've had some great moments in it since. But when I walk in there, it's just a dark feeling. Yeah.
Brother like doing the Gold Dust character?
It really depends on the day you ask him. Okay. I know he's extremely proud of it. Extremely, especially during the androgynous run of the late 90s and him and Rowdy Piper going into WrestleMania 12. Like, he got that. WrestleMania 12. So here was a moment that I'm in middle school at the time that Gold Dust comes out. Okay. So there's a lot of kids. And
we're about the same age.
Attitude Era is extremely popular. So now all these kids who didn't watch wrestling with me in elementary school want to ask questions. I'm like, fuck. Well, I don't have a lot of answers on Gold Dust. Yeah. And at the time, him and my dad,
a lot of words you can't say now.
Right. Well, like him and my dad weren't speaking. And one of the cooler moments where I realized no matter how bombastic and ridiculous and out there the Gold Dust character was, I watched that Rowdy Piper match at WrestleMania 12 and how much it was a thread throughout the show. It was one of the bigger stories of WrestleMania 12. And my dad, who hasn't talked to Dustin at that point in 3 or 4 years, I could see him just smiling ear to ear. And he was so happy that he got that moment, and he had went out and did it on his own. He wasn't Dustin Rhodes, he was Gold Dust. It's a very unique character. It's so funny that I went to a comedy show in LA a few years ago, and they were talking about if Gold Dust came out today, how he wouldn't be a bad guy at all. There was for example, he was the guy's doing this Goldust bit. He's like, I'm Goldust and I'm gonna kiss this man. And then they had a plant in the crowd stand up, go, that's totally cool, man. We love it. We love it. He's like, no, but it's gonna get me heat. And he's like, no, man. They like threw a rainbow across the street. It was really special and fun. And like, yeah, Goldust was just a unique character. But I think if you ask him, it kind of depends. You know, here's this, country boy from Austin, Texas, and then this is the thing he wanted to do, but he really dove into it. He's a cinema buff, because of Goldust, because they'd always want him to quote these lines. So it's something that we're two kids in our family we didn't go to college. Our education is this, our worldly experience, and I think Dustin got a lot of a good experience out of it.
I think the rumor was that Vince was upset at your dad or something, so gave him this rough character.
Yeah. That's always the story of.
So there's no truth to
the families didn't like each other.
Yeah,
I think it's a good story.
Okay,
it's helped me.
Yeah,
but I don't. Maybe there's some truth there, here and there, but I never experienced it so much. I was too young too. I think. Maybe Vince and my dad had some back and forth just because my dad went on and did his own thing.
Right.
He wanted to go back to Florida. He wanted to run Jim Crockett Promotions, which was the rival promotion. Also, I don't know if there was a rivalry that existed. It really didn't come down to me. Unless, of course, the moment they say, hey, you're Stardust. Unless that was it. And I just didn't read between the lines. I'm very naive, so it's possible. But
okay. So